Counter-Strike has become one of the biggest gaming franchises to date, selling tens of millions of copies and also holding a title that is one of the biggest esports scenes around. Counter-Strike Global Offensive remains one of the most popular shooters on the market right now, and has been one of few games to be able to dominate for so long. Released in 2012, the game is now approaching 6 years since release, and the fact that it is still one of the top games is very indicative of how good of a game it really is. One thing about the franchise is how rare a new installment is. For instance, the most recent game came out in 2012, the most recent main title before that came out in 2007, and before that, 2004. Over time, as the games become more and more successful, it takes Valve longer and longer to put out a new Counter-Strike game. With the records that Global Offensive broke, it makes us ask when we'll see a new game in the Counter-Strike franchise. When looking at all of the different factors, the easy answer is to say that, it's a long time away. Once again, the games are becoming more and more scarce over time, and it may correlate to the success that they create. In Valve's defense, why would they rush out a new Counter-Strike game when their Global Offensive title is, still dominating the charts, has a very active esports scene, and is still generating them plenty of profit off of skins and other microtransactions? Because they don't have forever to reap the benefits of Global Offensive. Though it's still popular in the moment, it's not going to be popular forever. In the coming years, the game is likely to see some decline in revenue as people, they get tired of it, and because of this, the microtransactions and skin markets may also start to slow down too. It's not really a question of if it will happen, but when it will happen. The game could stay solid for another 5+ years, or next year another game could come out and the player count for CSGO could begin to drop. It's more or less a waiting game to see how long we have until the next Counter-Strike game. So when this decline begins, is this when Valve will finally kick into gear and start developing a new Counter-Strike title for their franchise? Well, that's already probably begun. There's a rumor that Valve is already working on a new Counter-Strike title, though this remains an unsubstantiated rumor. If true, will mean that Valve has already decided that a new Counter-Strike game needs to be started. Another popular trend in the franchise is to consistently update older titles and make them better. In 2007, Counter-Strike Online was released. The game was then re-released with better graphics and an improvement to the source engine, which allowed the graphical improvements and a better set of weapons and equipment, which makes the gameplay better. There is some speculation from fans that CSGO will be upgraded to the Source 2 engine, and that's what all of this hype is about. For context, the quote being referred to states, there's going to come, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but they're working on some kind of a CS version or a new game, but that is years away. This quote came just last year on a podcast episode that I have linked below. Note that he said they're either working on some version of Counter-Strike or a new game. The quote says it could either be a new version of Counter-Strike, which, would imply that one of the games, most likely Global Offensive at this point, is going to be getting a new version that will massively update the game, or we're going to be getting a new game, which implies either a new title in the franchise of Counter-Strike, or maybe he was actually referring outside of the franchise and more towards like a new IP. If it is a new version, it could also be 1.6, which is a beloved build of the first Counter-Strike game that the community seems to love. It would not be a fairy tale to see that this would be the target of a major upgrade, perhaps to the Source or hopefully Source 2 engine, considering that a very popular community mod tries to merge the gameplay and styles of 1.6 with the current Counter-Strike Global Offensive game. If Valve took the initiative to surprise us all with a 1.6 remastered or something along those lines, I would be pretty surprised, but I think that it would really make the Counter-Strike fanbase happy because it's not only showing that they care about what we like, but it's also recreating what the fans want with modern technology that they have. And that could go a long way with making the entire community happy. In the gaming industry, we have seen this trend of games being remastered or reimagined in years prior getting much bigger now, and to see them remaster an old title or, at least update it in such a way that it would essentially be a remaster and make it like playing an entirely new game would seemingly fit the trend of what's going on. The safest answer that we can really come up with is that when CSGO becomes less profitable is when we're going to see that new CS title, but this doesn't really rule out a new and upgraded version of a previous game. That would also be a very nice surprise and would definitely be a good move on Valve's part, as you know, they can just re-release that old title and sell it with improvements, or just rake it in off of the microtransactions in the game. We've seen how popular that things like skins and crates have become in CSGO, so if they do re-release an older game or revamp it with a huge update, it's safe to say that it would have its own economy around it because of how much money that could make Valve, and obviously because it worked in Global Offensive. CSGO is not going to stop making Valve money anytime soon. The in-game economy is still worth tens if not hundreds of millions of dollars, but still fluctuates all the time. It can go up or down at pretty much any time. The economy was actually worth much more at one point, but then the CSGO Lotto and other betting scandals surrounding the game started, and Valve faced lawsuits, and this effectively damaged that economy. There's a major X factor with Valve games though that may prevent CSGO from declining enough for a new Counter-Strike title: the longevity of Valve games. It seems like any game that they create becomes an absolute classic, and if you look at games like Half-Life, Team Fortress 2, and of course Counter-Strike, the games have a very passionate and dedicated fan base that lasts so long that the game never truly dies. I mean, people have been waiting on a new Half-Life game for nearly 15 years now, so it's not like Counter-Strike is just likely to totally die off. Valve fans are some of the most passionate, patient fans in gaming, because every game that Valve makes generally is a really good game and is able to easily draw them in and keep them entertained for years. Valve has a good track record, and they know what they're doing better than anyone else really knows what they're doing. They know what they need to do to make their fans happy. Sometimes they just don't do it for a really long time, or perhaps they never will if you're a Half-Life fan, but I have a hard time believing that they will ignore the need for a new Counter-Strike title in years to come, especially if Global Offensive begins to wear out the welcome that it has created over time, and the events become more scarce and the in-game economy gets worse. There is a reason that people say, "In game we trust," and a new Counter-Strike title certainly isn't a necessity at the moment, but eventually it's going to become one. And by that time, I think we'll already be ready to have a new one given to us by the guys over at Valve. This is the point in the video in which I want to tell you not to take any of this as fact yet. We don't know when the next game will be coming, or even if they have plans right now for a new Counter-Strike title. The most likely answer is that we'd see a previous game upgraded to the Source 2 engine, but anything is possible, and a new Counter-Strike game is guaranteed to sell well, unless it decides not to allow players to transfer their skins and other purchases from CSGO. I personally would not mind to see a couple more graphical updates in CSGO over time. I really enjoyed what they did with Dust 2 and the updated graphics of the map. It's just much cleaner and better looking than the old map, and if they make sure to keep updating the game, and maybe even move it to the Source 2 engine, then I think this game can definitely go on for a while more. Some people that I've seen have, beliefs that Counter-Strike titles are not on the horizon for another 10 to 20 years, and while I don't believe that it's that far away, I definitely don't think Valve are just going to surprise us anytime soon with a new game. We'll have to see, none of us know for sure, but I wanted to talk about these rumors and the prospect of another Counter-Strike game coming anytime soon. It's definitely an interesting topic, and hopefully you found it to be interesting too. If you did, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you're new. Follow me on Twitter for thoughts and updates, and join the Discord, which I've actually finally linked in the description. I know for a long time I kind of just left it on my channel and then, I sent you guys there to find it, but I finally have moved it to the description. There's that permalink down there, you can join through that, and also keep your eyes out for some more live streams coming soon. I'm getting back into the groove of that, and you guys who have been tuning in seem to be enjoying it too. Anyways, until my next video guys, this is Optimus, signing out.